Cześć ludzie, what's up people? Hola, Vigo's Dad here, welcome to another episode. Guys, today I have my good friend Phil from Filip, Mówi po Polsku once again as a co-host of this episode. The episode that we recorded previously was a big success. I want to thank you all for your warm comments, for all the likes on the video, and thank you for subscribing to Phil's channel. Many of you guys went there and supported him. And I think this topic came out of a comment. And we thought, oh yeah, Phil, it's true. We share something very unique, which is that we are both married to Polish women. We both have half Polish kids, and it would be very interesting to see what lessons have we learned from co-parenting with a Polish person. So without further ado, let's begin. Phil, you're back. I got you here by popular demand, man. I think our video about whether Polish women were a pain in the ass or not, I mean, that did pretty well. They liked it. What do you think?
I enjoyed it, but we felt like we need to step up our game a little bit. I see you're looking very dapper today. I'm doing my best to keep up with you.
No, man. I mean, we were talking about the fact that we show his picture as an IT dude and then his transformation. And I said, man, we need to raise up to the occasion because we're going to talk about parenting and all that, and we don't want to be just two, dad bod rocking, t-shirt wearing dudes.
That's right. We got to bring our A game,
We have Polish wives. We have to show that they take care of us. Exactly. By the way, Phil, before we start, I don't think we did it on the last video, but we're going to do it now. We're going to put a big disclaimer right here. We know that we are generalizing, but for the most part, this is supposed to be a light video, and it's based on our experience, not only with our wives, but also, we have mother-in-laws, we have cousins and friends that are Polish, and so we've been around this reality for quite a bit, right, Phil? So we kind of merge those things.
I would agree. I would say even today's topic is a little bit more personalized probably than the previous one. But also at the same time, maybe a lot of things we might say won't necessarily will be universal to parenting with all nationalities and cultures, not just specifically Polish. But I think we nailed a little bit of Polish stuff as well.
Exactly. So, dude, let's get going. We have 8 bullet points. Let's go.
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, as we know, Poles are very hardworking people. As I like to say, they work hard, they play hard, and they also bring this to their taking care of their children. So they're very diligent, they're very hardworking. They put a lot of effort into their kids, and I think it shows. I think you probably agree with me on this.
100%. I'm a Latino, so you're an American. So that's why this conversation is very interesting to me, because we share the commonality that our wives are both Polish, and I think that they are more or less in the same generation, which makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in the values that were taught to them. So me being a Latino, there's a very specific way of how we are raised. For example, Latino moms are also very protective of the kids. And it's difficult, I would say, for a Latino man to sometimes find a wife that would be like up to par, that you would feel like, yeah, she's doing a good job. She is really taking care of her kids. But when it comes to Polish moms being very hands-on with things, that's something that I immediately felt like, okay, this is known territory to me.
Yeah, exactly. I think even in my case, like you mentioned previously, this is my second marriage, and so I can compare it to my previous marriage. And I would say, stereotypically, even with a lot of Americans, there's a lot of, with teaching them values, teaching them things, it's like a lot of Americans are like, well, we'll let the school handle that, we'll let the daycare handle that, we'll let the nanny handle that. Whereas, similar to how we were talking in the last video, Polish women like to take on things themselves and take care of themselves, and they do. And they're going to sit down, spend a lot of time with the kids, teach them a lot of things, do activities with the kids, and like I said, I think it shows in how the kids turn out as a result.
The next thing is how we know that Polish people are very strong character, and they're very, very stubborn. But I think it's because they know what they want, and when they know what they want, it's like you're not gonna get in the way. So sometimes it's a little bit of that feeling that it's either their way or the highway. Like they made a decision of whatever is gonna be around the house with the kid or anything related to parenting, and it's like you have to convince them why maybe there's another option that is also good, and
Yes.
But never say this to them in front of the child, because then they're gonna Phil, you know about this, tell me.
That is, I would say that's probably one of the biggest arguments my wife and I have, is that she will say something, like example to my daughter, hey, put down the iPad, that's enough screen time for today. You should be doing something else, and then I'll come in with my comment, well, you're staring at your phone right now on Instagram. Filushu, don't say this stuff in front of the kid. So yes.
When she tells you this, does she go to Polish?
It's a half English, half Polish.
How that would sound? Tell me, man, because there's something very particular the way like when they tell you like, chill, you hear like there's no other way they can say that other than that. You know what I mean? So,
something.
And
sometimes, that's just me being sarcastic, just kind of pointing out the very obvious flaws, that she's, it's one of those do as I say, not as I do kind of things, But what kind of gets me sometimes is, she will bring up brand new parenting policies, we'll say, with the kid and present them to our daughter as like, this is it. And I've never heard of this, that we're taking this stance before. And I'm like, and it's like, it is expected of me to just fall in line, take this stance and go along with it and present a united front to our child, Yeah,
but something in regards to that, it's very interesting because I think it's fair to say that you have your daughter Soja, and then you have your son Andrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Andrew, from my understanding, Andrew's a little bit more like you, and Soja's a little bit more like her mom on many things.
Absolutely.
Same with my son.
Like I said, my son is like me. My son has a very engineering mind, so I can say something to him, and then I'll just explain logically why I'm saying this thing, and he'd be like, "Okay, no problem. We're done here." My daughter, I think it's fair to say, as we were saying before, Poles will maybe a little bit stubborn, but I think they also have this through as a result of their history, a questioning of authority, right? They're always
don't I know
going, is this the right thing? I know what I'm right, and the combination, the questioning of authority and the stubbornness sometimes leads to conflicts between my daughter and my wife. Where my wife will say something and that's it because I said it, and my daughter's like, no, not really, and they will go back and forth, and a lot of times I need to step in and play the peacemaker. In this case, I find that sometimes Poles don't always get along with Poles when it comes to this kind of conversation.
Yeah. Oh, they are excellent at challenging each other, and you know what I mean. My kid is 4 years old, and you have to, this is incredible. You have to see my wife telling him, Vigo, Vigo, go put on your clothes. We have to go to nursery, And he's like, and he will tell my wife, he will say, Nigde. It is true that they act sometimes like they are almost always right, but the problem is that, at least in my case, in my wife's case, very often she is right. I have to give that to her.
They're right, but a lot of times, like I said, with my son, a lot of times I will sit there and explain to him why I think this is right, and like I said, he'll go along with it. Whereas Polish Polish people, sometimes they just want to say what is right, and that's it. They don't think it deserves an explanation because the parents said it, and that's it. And husband fall in line, and daughter do what I said to do.
Yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult. I know that my wife tries her best to explain to him, and it's something that we together try to do it. But yeah, the initial reaction tends to be like, why are you questioning?
So the third point we have on our list is Poles, like many parents around the world, they can be overprotective. But I think what we found is they have a unique way of being overprotective, or a little bit different than what I've seen in through various cultures. So the biggest example I can give of this, like I said, I've dealt with an American mom, now I've dealt with a Polish mom. And there's that stereotypical thing we see over here of how they're called the helicopter parents. Right, there's the little kid running around the playground, and within 6 inches of them all the time is either the father or the mother, making sure they don't fall down, making sure they don't get hurt. Right, that's a typical American style. What I tend to find with my Polish wife is that there's a similar overprotectiveness, but it's more verbally versus with American, it's physically, right? So, like, for example, when they're at the playground, like we're in a playground in Poland, the kids will be doing all these crazy things that American kids would never be allowed to do. Climb very high and do all these things on the playground. But all the Polish women are kind of standing over on the side, talking to each other. But there's constantly, every 30 seconds, one of them, Kasiu, nie, Tomek, nie,
Uważaj.
Yeah, uważaj. Yeah, So it's very verbally overprotecting versus physically overprotecting. I don't know what you've seen in like Dominican culture, which way it goes on that one.
Yeah, so this is very, very super interesting to me because I think this is the one point that we might have a slightly different points of view, not on the Polish side, but maybe how we interpret the overprotectiveness. Mm-hmm. Because Latino moms, it should not be called helicopter parenting. It should be called just Latino parenting, because that's how it is. No, I mean, I'm joking in the sense that Latino moms are very, very, like, always overlooking, always making sure that everything, be careful with this, careful with that. But what I do find is that they are constantly trying to mold the behavior of the kid. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if the kid goes and does this because they maybe feel comfortable with it. But if they don't feel comfortable with it, they want to change the behavior of the kid. So that's kind of like the overprotectiveness, how I see it. So, for example, my wife is very clumsy. So she's like, like if she's gonna climb something, she's gonna feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna bust my teeth. So when my wife sees Vigo doing something that she feels maybe that's uncomfortable, that she cannot do, then she wants to tell him, Vigo, don't do that. And I always tell her, let him climb that. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. So in that regard, I find that that's the difference.
Right. I mean, I think I find in general that seems to be a universal trait of all parents. A lot of times with mothers, putting their personal fears onto their child, whereas the husband may be going, come, let him go, let him come. And if I'm being honest, since I've experienced both, I definitely prefer the Polish way because it allows the kids to be out and do things and be able to build self-confidence to do things on their own, and not have to worry about that mom's not 6 inches away from me at this point, But I have to admit, at some point, I will turn to my wife and be like, do you have to tell her what to do every 30 seconds? I feel bad for my daughter as a result.
And I wonder how different it is that, the fact that you have a daughter and there's a mom-daughter relationship there, which is different from the mom-son relationship. We are men, so we had that relationship with our moms. Absolutely. And it's different, right? Yeah. It is different. I guess with daughters and moms, it's a little bit more of a, headbutting.
That probably plays into our previous point, how I'm constantly playing peacemaker. It's not only that they're both Polish, but it's that they're both women as well. Yeah, and that tends to be a conflict sometimes.
Disclaimer for you mothers that have a great relationship with your daughters and gonna say that you are not like that. We are generalizing. So the fourth thing, Phil, is very interesting. to me. It was very, very interesting. Polish people are not so affectionate. Like, you know that they love their kids to death, but it's not done with physical touch, and that is very different from Latinos. Now, before we develop this, I have to say that my wife particularly is rather different because she's very huggy, kissy towards Vigo. But you see that there is a big difference. I see it, my in-laws, like I said, and also cousins and friends. They show that they love and they care by doing nice things. Things are basically going to get the kid alive.
Definitely. It's funny because how we mentioned before with the overparenting, how they tend to be more verbally parenting versus helicopter parenting. In this case, it definitely, I would say, it comes to more actions than words. If a kid's sick, they're gonna do 100 different things, but they're not gonna sit here and go, they kind of do it a little bit with the diminutive words that they have in Polish, right? They're gonna sit there and say that, Zoshinka, Zoshunyu, while they're giving them their medicine and everything like that. And that's kind of like the Polish way of showing. These kind of things. That's kind of like the verbal Polish way of showing these things. But it's more that, okay, when my daughter's sick, she's going to go make her the chicken soup. She's going to go bring her every little home remedy that she has. And she's going to, not go to work that day. And, it's definitely more of a active thing versus a verbal thing. The fifth item we have is, I think if you're in both of our situations, if you're a foreigner and you have a Polish wife, this is when you have a child, more so when you have a child than even when it's just the two of you. This is an unbelievable opportunity to learn not only Polish, but learn about Poland as well, because Poles more so, I don't know about Dominicans, but definitely more so than Americans, know the history of Poland, know all the little details about Poland, know all the important people in Poland, and they will take the time to sit there and explain to their kids. I learned all the same stuff about America, and to be honest with you, I probably don't remember half of it, but I definitely have to say, when you have a child, it's definitely a great opportunity to take in this knowledge. If you have any interest in Poland itself, not only with your wife, but also with any of the relatives around, they're going to teach their kids the history of Poland, and this is such an opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Polish people, as much as they love to complain sometimes, and as much as they love to berate each other, they are very proud to be Polish, and it's a beautiful thing to see how the moms, they pass on the knowledge, and it's almost like a pride thing. Like a Polish mom wants her kids to know Polish, to understand Polish. There's no other language being spoken in the house. I mean, maybe your daughter is now older and English is her main language, so I would assume that some words might go in and out in English, but probably it's predominantly Polish, right? Between them.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is predominantly speaking Polish, and now it used to be she would get a Polish response from my daughter. Now she'll get an English response.
Yeah, well, naturally, she's getting older. It's going to happen, but she has the Polish already in here, and to me, it was very important. My wife has a linguistic background, so she, from the beginning, told me the way we have to do this is we're going to speak to Vigo in our individual mother tongues, and whatever else he's going to pick up. And to this day, we do that. It's very funny to see the three of us talking, because it will be me speaking him in Spanish, then he answering me in Spanish, and asking mom something in Polish, mom answering him in Polish, and then she asks me something in English, and then we just go like this. And sadly, it's not the case with Dominicans. I've met several Dominicans that are married, also in a mixed relationship, and sadly, the kids end up speaking the language that the couple speaks in, or wherever they're living at. And I always think, like, man, don't be lazy. Don't, you're giving your kid a superpower. So the next bullet point here is the diet, and how it has such a massive impact. The Polish parenting saying Polish parent and then how they feed their kid, it's like goes hand in hand. Like you cannot separate both. Dominican diet is, what can I tell you, man? It's pretty shitty. It's not bad in the sense we have rice, we have things that are very nutrient dense, but we consume just too much sugar. You know, everything has to be very sweet, and my wife is always telling me, don't give Vigo so many chocolates, don't give Vigo this, don't put, he doesn't need to have sugar in that, give him fruits, give him that. So yeah, the way that they take care of the diet of the children it's really superb in my observation.
Like I said, I've experienced with an American wife and now with a Polish wife, and the amount of things that my daughter eats that my son still doesn't eat is unbelievable, because she was introduced to a lot of this stuff at a young age. We didn't really go through that whole, okay, you're gonna eat, like in America they have like the jars of vegetables, the pureed vegetables and everything like that. Yeah. My wife never used any of that, because a lot of times those things are loaded in America. They're loaded with sugar as well. My wife never used any of those baby food things. She made her own. She pureed her own. She took a bunch of vegetables, threw them in, pureed them herself.
Yeah. Amazing.
We have the stereotypical in movies. There was always like how they make fun of foreigners when they're in like school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is kids will always show up with a brown paper bag and they have the sandwich and all the bag of chips, and that's the American kids.
True.
And the foreign kids always have like a hot lunch every day, right? And they're like, oh, look at the weird kid with his like hot lunch. That's my daughter. My daughter shows up every single day to school with a hot lunch. That's we had to buy special thermoses because my wife cooks it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
It keeps it warm all the way to lunchtime. But she eats amazing meals every day.
Oh yeah, man. And I'm sure probably Soja eats vegetables and fruits, right?
She eats every vegetable that there is. She eats vegetables. Like, for example, last night, I'll tell you, we had, as part of our meal, we had cauliflower.
Yeah.
She sat there and grabbed, like, this big bowl of cauliflower. She grabbed the bowl and she took out, like, we had to yell at her to stop. Like, hey, the rest of us would like to eat some of that cauliflower as well.
Is the respect that Polish people have towards food, and that they believe, as much as they love their medicine and their medicine ads and all. I've covered those things in other videos, that they have a medicine for everything, but they also believe in the power of natural healing. Like they always tell you, you're sick, then they bring a concoction with onions and all that stuff. You have to leave the room. So I think to them is very important that their kids understand the same, the same thing, I guess.
Yes. As much as we make fun of Polish women that they associate food with love,
yeah,
we're probably all going to live another 5 to 10 years longer as a result.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're going to yell at us, throughout that time, but we're going to live.
Again, this probably applies to more cultures than just Polish cultures, but I've seen it in Polish culture, in that Polish communities take the approach of it takes a village to raise a child. All right, so the mothers are always constantly helping each other. Oh, I need to run to the store real quick. Can you watch my child for half an hour? Yeah, no problem. Constantly doing favors. Constantly. One thing I found very interesting, actually, and it's a big difference between American parents and Polish parents, in that say you're at a party, and there's a bunch of kids there, right? Now, at an American party, say one of the kids is doing something he shouldn't be doing. An American parent is going to go tell that person's parent, hey, your kid's kind of doing this thing. Maybe you could, do something about it. And okay, then that parent's going to go. Every parent's going to parent their own kid, right? Yeah. When you're at a Polish party, if my wife sees one of the other kids doing something wrong, hey, Timush, przestań, and the mother, that boy's mother is going to be perfectly fine with that. That's how it is. Hey, we're all parenting all these kids together, kind of thing.
Yeah, it is very true. I have to say that one is we shared that. Latinos share that with Poles. Yeah, it's very community based and driven, where your aunt is gonna just, I should not say slap you, but yeah, she will probably just go like, hey, what you doing, stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, we don't condone slapping. But the reality is that I don't like it. In that sense, I am very much like, it's my kid, so tell me, and I will talk to him. Just because I guess I was overexposed to that same behavior as a child. And yeah, I mean, it's fine. This is just one of the things that I don't like, whereas there are many things that I do like about raising kids with your in-laws around. And you and I don't know how it was with you. It probably was very difficult for your wife because she raised your daughter far away from her family. And it was the same with us the first 4 years. And one of the big reasons why we moved to Poland was because precisely we were feeling the way of just being alone all the time. So in that case, how was it for her? How was it for your wife? She didn't have that support.
Same. My wife was constantly, especially when my daughter was younger, constantly like, she wanted her mother around, she wanted her aunts around, just some kind of support system. I think Polish people are used to that kind of stuff. They're not used to, especially when it comes to raising kids, venturing out on their own and handling everything 100% on their own, or them and their husband, I think, now let's be honest. Maybe if she was in Poland, she would have been complaining that Babcia's always putting her nose into, all the business. But, the grass is always greener kind of thing, This is another one of the differences I've noticed between American culture and Polish culture. And it's the mentality of how kids are being raised. Whereas I feel like American parents, American culture, from the moment a kid's born, they are preparing their kid to be for 18. To 18, like we joked around on previous things. At 18, you're getting kicked out the door. You're on your own. Good luck. We'll see you later.
Time to get our life back. The parents are like, yes.
Whereas Polish people, and probably all the cultures as well, they take more of the mentality that I'm going to be the parent for at least my entire life, maybe beyond the grave as well, if they could pull that off. But they treat it more as a lifetime thing. And like I said, one thing I've noticed, I don't think all Poles do this, but I think all Poles would like to do this, is a lot of times Poles will buy their kids their first apartment, or somehow set them up into the real world, whether it's a car, an apartment, something like that. Like, okay, you got 1 foot, on the ground and you're all set. Now, here you go. Yep. And they're going to give advice all the way through. But that's about it.
Yeah. In Latino culture is a lot more like Polish culture. Parents will parent you until their deathbed. Don't you dare. There are certain things that you never say to them. It doesn't matter if you think you are grown up. Literally, they would just look at you and think, "Oh, so you think you're grown now? So you think you can? You think you forgot who is your mom? You know what I mean? And you're there with 40 years old. Go like, okay, mom, I'm sorry." We are very much like Poles, and I do remember, like I said, Dominicans have a lot of closeness to the U.S., and I do remember hearing those stories from Dominicans that were married to Americans, and how Americans are like, okay, that's it. You're on your own, and to us it was always very baffling. So on that regard, we are very similar to Poles.
I think now, as a result, you and I, and our kids might have a very good balance, is because of that, right? I'm sure neither one of our kids are going to be kicked out the door at 18, but also I think especially me, I think I'm like, there's some lessons that I think I'm teaching my daughter when she's a little bit younger that maybe a typical, different style might teach her. And I think she's going to have, when she hits 18, she's not, probably will set her up with something and everything will be good. But she's also going to have the confidence that she can handle, that situation right out the, first steps that she can handle that situation on her own if she needs to.
Boom! That's all, guys. That's the end of the episode. I hope you liked it. Phil, my bro, my man, thank you for coming back to my channel. Thank you guys, the Vigos Dad family, for embracing Phil. He came here and he didn't know what to expect. He maybe thought that you guys were gonna be tough on him, but you were very loving. Thank you for going to his channel. If you haven't been there, go to his channel, subscribe. He makes videos in Polish, and I'm so jealous of that. But at the same time, I feel so inspired by it. Hopefully, I can get there at some point. Maybe we can create a Because That movie po Polsku at some point.
No, thanks. Thanks once again for having me, JT. Always a good time. Always interesting to talk to you specifically. We'll see what's going to happen. This video was purely created based on the comments of our last video, so we'll see what happens. Maybe the comments on this video will inspire something for a future video.
Yeah, for sure, guys. The next time Phil and I are together on camera, we're going to be both in Poland. He's going to come to Warsaw. We're going to spend a couple days with me. We're going to have this get together. And if you want to come to Warsaw, it's the 13th of August around 3 o'clock. The details are in the group. Come, meet Phil.
All right, we got to start working on our outfits now so we look proper at the event, right?
I would tell you that we should go dressed like this, but I think it's going to be probably like 35 degrees in Poland. So I don't think this is smart. Thank you very much. I'll see you on another episode. Bye-bye.